and it wanted me to re-log in. So it took me a second. Thanks for you guys who have your cameras on. If you are able, would love to see your face. And if not, you're driving, that's okay too. I love to do this every year after family reunion and mega camp. And this year asked Teresa and Dylan to join me. Actually, Heather, I think they need to be spotlighted instead of pinned.
Okay.
Please.
Mine just told me I was spotlighted.
Oh, really? Mine is not, I'm not, that's so weird.
I'll fix everybody. No,
Okay,
you're spotlighted too.
Oh, mine just says pinned. That's weird. I can see everybody. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, and of course,
It must be your view on your corner.
It might be. Okay, sorry. Let me change here we go. Okay. I'm working from home today. Well, I was in the office this morning and then I came back and clearly you can hear. So I'll shut him up. Thank you, Teresa and Dylan, for being on and sharing. I know Bridget's on, Kayleen's on. You guys were at Tina. You guys were at Mega Camp. So anxious to hear if you guys want to share some of yours too, please do. We can unmute and you guys can share as well. I like to just kind of go through. Unfortunately, I had to leave early this year for a John Maxwell mastermind. And so I'm going to be taking notes, Teresa and Dylan, from you guys too on some of the second part of the time together. But will you guys just introduce yourselves for people who may not know who you are and where you're from while I go grab Frankie?
Sure.
Go,
yep.
Teresa.
I'll go first. I'm Teresa Kenny. I'm the team leader at Keller Williams Consultants in Dublin, Ohio. Been here for 14 years, been team leader for about 6 months. Absolutely love it. So I will hand the mic over to Dylan.
My name is Dylan Ballard. I am the team leader at Keller Williams Legacy Group in Richmond, Kentucky, and I have been the team leader for about 9 weeks. And I actually don't sell real estate. I've been in business though. I was raised in business my whole life, been an entrepreneur since a young age, and I am loving it with everything in me. It is amazing. I absolutely love it, and I loved Mega Camp. So I'm excited to get into what we have to do or what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. You guys are the best. I'm so blessed to be in business with y'all. Thank you.
I saw somebody in the comments said, "Go Dogs." I guess they're saying that because I have my UK shirt on. Yeah, I'm in the season right now that I can't really say nothing to Georgia fans. I can't say anything to Georgia fans. I'll wait to see if I can say something during basketball season with our new coach, but I usually talk smack to Georgia fans about December or February. So, but I appreciate the love.
Later in the season. That's right. Okay, so we're going to move pretty quick. And I wanted to share one thing with you guys that I actually got first to kick us off. And it was I went a day early for the top OP multi-market center mastermind. And not a Hoosiers fan. Oh my gosh, my husband would be so thrilled to read that. The mastermind for OPs, for top OPs, we talked a lot about accountability. And I had a great takeaway in this that I think pertains to all agents and anybody that's in leadership. And we kind of talked about care and candor, and over the last couple of years during the pandemic and kind of getting through the pandemic and getting through COVID, how it seems like people, and this is no like pointing fingers, this is just everyone in general, have more excuses now, as opposed to what Teresa's shirt says, which is just doing the work. And so we talked a lot about how to hold our agents accountable, how to hold our leaders accountable, because everybody wants to win, right? Everybody wants to do more. You want your business to be more successful. And so I got a great piece of a nugget that I wanted to share with you. I mean, I have pages, but the biggest one was from David Barroso, who also is a OP, and he's a regional director in the Greater Heartland region, and he played professional hockey. And he said that most sports win because they make the least amount of mistakes. So if you're winning in a sport, it's not because you're great. It's because typically you made the least amount of mistakes. He said they don't never make mistakes, but they make less mistakes than the ones who don't win. And then he said that when you are, I'm gonna have to grab him. When you are maybe not winning, he said, or when you're wanting to help people win, he said, what we have to do is not necessarily work harder. And I feel like we're in a time right now. Sorry, guys. I feel like we're in a time right now where when people, maybe because of the way that the market is shifting, we are going to have to work harder. People are going to have, agents are going to have to work harder. It's just kind of part of it, to be honest. But he said, instead of having the mindset of just, let's just work harder and go faster, he said what most winners do is they slow down and they adjust. They make adjustments. And he said they empower their people, they empower their team, they minimize the mistakes to match the results that they want. And I thought that was so good as we're moving into a season where, this time of year with election year, it's going to be a little bit slower in real estate. It typically is, but especially during election year. But also just as we're having, we're a day away from a lot of changes in our industry taking place, and which is crazy. I feel like it just is like Christmas. It like snuck up on us really quick. But I just want to challenge you guys to think about slowing down and maybe thinking about what adjustments you need to make and maybe making less mistakes and seeing what are the things that you need to really focus on and empower your business. Because this was the last part that I loved. People want to play with winners. And he said that he's never been on a winning team that didn't just want to hang out and be together all the time. Because when you're winning, and you guys, both of you two know that, but when you're winning, when you have a team that's winning, you want to hang out and be together all the time, and it's fun, and you like to be happy, and you reinforce the clarity of the mission. And so I wanted to start with that, and then kind of go into, if we can, Dylan and Teresa, maybe let's start with like the market of the moment and like the industry changes and just any takeaways, thoughts that you guys had or that you heard from Gary. I know we have so many, but and I am going to be doing the industry update later this month, where I'll be going over every slide that was shared. We'll really be talking about the trends. So come back to that. But in the meantime, Teresa, you want to go first, then Dylan, on just market of the moment, industry update, what you took away.
Yeah, I took away a couple of really big things in that department. I felt like Gary came out of the gate in a feisty mood. Like he's always very businesslike, but this time he was businesslike with an edge. And the very first words I heard come out of this man's mouth as he was wearing this t-shirt was, "Don't be fragile."
Yeah.
He was, in fact, I think he said he was anti-fragility, like just get it out of your system. He said, if you live long enough, and a lot of us will live that long, especially Adam Roach, he's on a longevity search, but the longer you live, the more bad things that are going to happen. And you have to, it goes back to what Dana just said about being on a winning team and adjusting. You have to be able to adjust when things don't go the way you want them to. So in terms of what I took away from that with the NAR settlement was like, just, I don't want to say just get over it, but just adjust to it. It's not, it's a change, but everybody who joins Keller Williams on Monday, it's just going to be life for them. Like, it's not, I don't want to say it's not a big deal, because we're asking you to change, but you just kind of need to toughen up. And in order to toughen yourself up, you need to get yourself on a training program. You just don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be tough. You have to do it. And then the other thing in terms of market of the moment, I loved Jason Abrams, and I've put this on I haven't done it yet, but I'm about to put it on my door. He had this great quote, which was, "Successful people don't call it work. They call it life."
Oh, I love that. Wait, say that again, because I don't have that. See, this is why I love to do this. Okay.
And it's funny, Dana, because Inman Report picked up on it too.
Wow.
Successful people don't call it work. They call it life.
Yep. Love it. I love that. I love that.
Those were my two takeaways there.
There's a big, the theme really, and at the top, and Teresa, not to keep going back to your shirt, but at the very top of mine from Gary, I said, do the work. And like I have it circled, highlighted, quotation marked. And it's interesting because, lay down. I think that's kind of what Linda and I have been talking about. Like, it feels like we just kind of got in this, I don't know, lull over the last couple of years. And those of us who've been in the industry a while, or have ever built a business know it is hard work. Like it's work. Oh, and I love one thing David Barroso, the OP I was talking about, shared. He said that he's always told his kids in their house, their mantra has always been that working hard is fun. Because he said he wants them to know that working hard is fun, and that, you can't look at it as a negative thing. You have to look at it as something fun.
Yeah. And my father-in-law, I loved his was the harder you work, the luckier you are.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's so good. That's so great. Okay, Dylan, what about you as far as market updates, industry kind of type conversation?
Yeah, for instance, she was talking about the toughness and that it's going to take, and if anybody that's going to survive in this industry has to be tough. And I love that Gary said anybody that's tough has flexibility, responsiveness, strength, and resilience.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to have. If we look back, this market, everybody that stays in business longer than just a few years always goes through a shift, right? And we're going through a shift now. Gary talked about that. We're seeing a shift in multiple different areas in the market, in the economy, and in the industry, full on shift right now. And I think what I took away from this, and this was not something somebody said, but this is something that I took away from it. If we're really going to be true to what Keller Williams is being a place where entrepreneurs thrive, being a place where businesses are built that are businesses that are worth having, then we have to be able to adapt to change, because change is inevitable. If we just crawl under a rock because change is coming, we're going to fail. And is it really a business that's worth having if one little law, it's a huge thing. Like she said, we're not neglecting that one law change makes our business inevitable. Like it makes it go out of where it's supposed to be. If it takes it down a notch, if that's the case, was it really a business worth having? And if you is it really a business worth having if that's the case? Because here's the thing that Gary talked about that really touched me the most. I think a lot of new agents, and I've not even been in the industry long, have only known the craziness of the market of right when they came in after COVID and you were putting in 27 offers and they were all going $60,000 above asking, and it was easy, and you could throw a house on the market and it sells in 2 minutes. Here, you get a house, you get a house, you get a house. He's like, that's not real life. And that's not the realistic market. That could not possibly last forever. And really, it's just leveling back out. You throw this law change in, that is a cog in the wheel. But if we are really going to be a place where entrepreneurs thrive, entrepreneurs adapt when things come at them, and they have that flexibility, they have that responsiveness, they have that strength, they have that resilience. They are tough. So for me, this NAR settlement, because that's the big thing everybody's talking about, right? They spent a lot of time Tuesday morning talking about that. If that's what we're going to talk about, if the way the market is right now, responding from that 2021, if that's it, this is an opportunity as others drive themselves out of the business and other companies. This is an opportunity for us to step up, adapt, and be trendsetters and grow our businesses, because other people are getting scared and going hiding under those rocks. So for us, it's, are we true to who we are, or were we just too true to it because the market was easy in 2021 and we're just now recovering it? Are we really building businesses worth having, or are we just making good money because the market was easy to sell in 2021 and we're just now seeing the effects from it? Yeah. So my biggest takeaway from the industry updates is, and I'm checking with our agents, is your business built to last, or was it built for you just to make money when the high points are happening in the market?
Yeah, it's such a great point. You just reminded me of one of my favorite slides that Gary showed at the CEO Summit. And I think they're going to put these, I think they said they're going to share these slides, the ones that Gary and Jay and Jason did, the very first thing they opened with on the toughness. But he said, in a career of 50 years, you'll most likely go through at least 5 booms and 5 busts. You want to approach your life and your business in such a way that you thrive throughout the good times and the bad. So you want to be tough. Exactly what you just said, Dylan. And then he said, I don't know what is going on with Frankie, you guys. Is he so loud? I mean, he's barking like nuts. I'm gonna have to go get him. Okay. He said that, I love this slide. Toughness is the ability to absorb the licking and keep on ticking. Do you remember that one?
I love that.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He said, Mike Tyson said it this way, which we've all heard a million times. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And he said, that's really true. Tough people will always respond the best. And so, you know, I think we just have to remember what Gary says too. There'll be people who will take market share that they'll never lose during a shift, and there'll be some that will lose it that'll never get it back. And my hope is that all of you guys are the ones that are taking it and not losing it. If you want to write this down, and there was so much on the toughness, but I just think I believe this is really important. He said that the 4 things that make a tough person are flexibility, responsiveness, strength, and resilience. Resiliency. Yeah.
And then and they did say that they're gonna give everyone these slides, but he took those 7 pillars of
Yeah.
your life and gave you examples of like how to toughen up and all of them. And I know that Bridget got to listen to Allison Felix because she's in MAPS coaching, but who, if you don't know, is the most decorated female track and field star in the United States.
Yeah.
But anyway, people were asking her questions. What does she do for a race? She prepares.
Yeah.
And what Gary was trying to tell us with that opening EEO summit was, you know, you have to prepare for your life in every aspect of it, not just work, but mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, physical.
Yeah. Well, and I loved when he said, let's change our conversation and attitude around stress. Instead of saying I'm feeling stressed, changing that to I'm being tested, then I'm becoming tougher. So he said to saying I'm creating stress to like I'm testing myself to ensure that I'm becoming tougher. Let measured stress be a gift that you give yourself. And I don't, you know what I was thinking about? Some of you who were at the I Love Coaching Summit last year in Charleston will remember this. Dr. Ryan spoke about stress being good for you. Do you remember that, Teresa? He was talking about how, like, health wise, like it's good for you to be a little stressed because your body kind of
Eats it.
yeah.
If you never have stress, then you will never be able to deal with it when it does show up, and it will. One more thing that I thought of, because I think last year or the year before, they had Ryan Holiday as one of
Yes.
the guest speakers who wrote the book about being a Stoic. And so I've been reading about Stoics since, but I felt that Gary's speech that he gave right off the bat was really it reminded me of being a Stoic, where you have to prepare kind of for the worst case scenario. Like he just came out and said, like, things get tough and you have to be tough. And the way to get tough is to prepare.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason he opened with that is a lot of what I'm going to talk about on the industry update, but predictions and all of the statistics show that we could possibly more than likely be headed for a little recession in the next trying to say this as nice as possible without freaking everybody out. But based on, you know, all of the indicators, it's a semi-high probability that we could slump into a recession. The positive news on that though, and this is what I'll be talking about a little bit more on the industry update as I finish my research on it, but either way, rates will probably fall and it will increase home sales a little bit. So that's the good news for us. But I think that's kind of why he started with that. I didn't ask you guys to prepare for this, but during the CEO summit, the guy who opened, Jason Dorsey, who's a researcher and author, he was my favorite of like the whole day. I loved him. And I just found my notes from him. If you guys have any, I loved him. I thought he was so great. But one of the biggest things I got from him was, here, the average person today is 6 years. Well, he said, think about how old you were when you had your first job and what was your first job. And like, everybody was saying, oh, I was 7, I was 8, I was 13, I was 15. And then he shared that the average person today is 6 years older at getting their first job than what we were, before. And he said they can't read cursive and they only text in emojis. But he went with that into saying that the first time home buyer in 1994 was 29 and last year is 35. So things are definite, which I've talked with you guys about that a lot. But I just loved how he talked about the different generations and he kind of went through the importance of technology. And but I loved when he said technology is only new if you remember the way it was before.
Yeah.
That was good.
I loved when he talked about, he's like, my daughter will not know life without TikTok.
Yeah.
Like my daughter will not know life without being able to go on her phone and change the TV channel. Like you just have to, like in business, like in general, he was maybe my favorite of the, like, I know that sounds
I know.
to say that because he's not Keller Williams only, but you guys really need to look up. Stuff was amazing. And I love that, like, we've gotten, like, let's be real, right, guys? It's gotten easy over the last few years. You know what I mean? People are sending you the house they want. You're not having to communicate with an agent. You're showing up, putting your phone to a door pad. It opens up. They've already looked at 50 pictures of the house on Zillow. They already know how much it cost. They already know how many people's went and seen it and viewed it on Zillow. It's gotten easy, right? Well, now we're all in a fluster because it's been getting easy to just go collect big checks. And we've all done the work, but it's gotten easy on some ends of it to collect the big checks. And he said, we've got to realize that no job is beneath us. We have to realize if we want a business worth having, I wrote that down like 50 times. No job is beneath us if we really want to reach our goals. If our goals are our goals, no job is beneath us. So if we do have to communicate with an agent to see if they're offering 3% or 4%, to whatever your market calls for, that's beneath us. Yeah. Because if our why is not changing, no job is beneath us if we want to reach the goals that we want to reach.
Yep, so true. Teresa, were you going to say something too? I had one more too.
Well, I was going to see if anybody wanted to put in the chat. He definitely studied generational differences. He talked about the difference between millennials and Gen Z and baby boomers. But there is one trend that shapes a generation. And if you can guess what it is, put it in the chat.
Oh, yes. Good. Yeah, the number one trend that shapes generation.
I mean, I guessed technology, and it was a very, very good guess. But does anybody out there have any idea what the number one thing is? The number one trend that shapes a generation? Like what?
Technology was number two. You were very close.
Dana actually got the right answer. I
was shocked that I did, but I did kind of think about it for a minute. GDP, no. Close. Entertainment, no. That's good. They're good. Those are good guesses. Not close, but good guesses, I mean.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to take a guess at that? Education is good, but
good guess.
The answer is parenting.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at Gen X or Gen Z and try to figure out why are they the way they are, and millennials, it's because they were raised by baby boomers who had to do everything to get anywhere, and they decided to make life a little easier for their kids.
Yep. He said, like, think about it this way. He said, Teresa, our parents telling their kids to buy houses, our parents telling their kids that they have to go to college. He said, in fact, he'll ask people, do you think it's important to go to college or not? And if they didn't go to college or if they didn't graduate, they might say, if they're entrepreneur, no, I don't think it's a big deal. But then if they say, but do you think it's important for your children to go to college? Then their answer changes based off of, it being their kid versus somebody else's. But I thought that was so good. And then I loved my two biggest takeaways from him were the two things that he said that are working now to drive results in the real estate industry. And number one was if you're working with millennials and younger, so that's anybody that's 47 years old and below, they want to feel unique. Like that's their word. And so he said that the tagline, as unique as you are, fill in the blank, like as unique as you are, you need to be having investment property with all the equity that you have in your home. As unique as you are, you should be, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you're working with them to do, 47 and below want to be unique, which I fall into that category and I've never heard that before. So I was like, wow, that's a good one. And then number two that I loved from him was he said, if you think about it, we use the word referral a lot. Like that's the basis of our business is I want to can I have a referral? Do you know anybody that you could refer me to? Referrals. He said that when the tests actually show in the surveys that the word referral is kind of has a negative what's the word to it? Like,
Connotation.
yes, thank you, Teresa. It kind of has a negative connotation to it. And so he said that especially with millennials, which would be 47 and younger, we really need to kind of remove that word from our vocabulary, and it needs to be replaced with, do you have any friends that I can help? Like he said, we really need to did you guys hear that? And I love that.
Yeah.
Like, amen. That is so good. We need to replace that word referrals with friends. Like, do you have any friends that are looking to buy or sell? Do you have any friends I can help? Do you have any friends that I could serve or be of service to? Instead of, hey, I'm looking for more referrals. I just thought that that was so good. Both of those things. Because millennials are the number one group buying and selling homes right now.
Yes.
47
And what millennials are not, for me, I took away this millennials, and I like going into the next part of what we learned at CEO Summit, like kind of putting it all together. Millennials are not the people like the boomers that are cookie cutter, right? They're not the ones that are this. I'm going to judge your work ethic by how many hours. I'm going to judge your work ethic by how many promotions you've gotten. I'm going to judge, in the church world, because I'm also a pastor, how much seat time you put in. They're not judged it. They're not judging it like that, right? So what are we going to do to make it unique? The next person that talked to us talked about storytelling. So to make that we're selling unique, how are we going to tell its story? She told a story about a plastic horse that she sold on eBay for $1. She took it and put the same listing on, but told the story of a daughter who had it, that it was her favorite toy, and made a whole thing out of it, and talked about what it meant to the family and what that plastic pink horse meant. And you know what? The same exact horse sold on eBay for $147.
Wow.
And
I love that.
because the connectability.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm in that age group of I'm actually, some people categorize age groups different. I didn't know 28 and under was Gen Z. I didn't know. I always thought I was millennial, but I'm not apparently. Apparently I'm Gen Z. But I think when something has uniqueness and it has a story, I like it better. I liked knowing the family's traits of what they did in this house. Like the person who owned the house that I'm living in now, one of their kids lives up the road, and he came to me and told me the stories of him playing basketball out in the yard and out where, because that basketball goal, and like how they took care of this and that tree when they planted it. Like I loved it, right? And to a point, you get tired of that stuff, but I love the uniqueness that the house brought, opposed to back in those days, because the millennials and under are what are buying houses now. Like then opposed to, this is my price point. This is how many bedrooms I have. That's it. Show me this house and I'll go buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Story matters to people. What can you do to find them a house that is unique to their situation? That was a huge take.
Yep. I love that. Me too. Love that. I heard Gary say we're continuing to live in an equal opportunity, unequal reward world. And I think that actually kind of goes back to the whole do the work conversation. But there is equal opportunity out there for all of us. It's just an unequal reward world based off of who's going to put in the work. Is that kind of how you guys took it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to put a plug in for boomers, because even Jason Dorsey said, if you're planning a team, you got to have a boomer on there, because
boomers are 60 to 78 right now. 60 years old to 78 years old would be a boomer.
they get the work done. They just, their work ethic is a little different than everybody else's. What about the fun fact he told? And I think, Dylan, you might have to chime in on this, because I think it's your age group or maybe even younger. But if you're having trouble connecting with, like if I'm having trouble with younger clients and I'm having trouble connecting, he suggested, and it was a Harvard Business Review study, that if you put a screen between you, then they will look at the screen and pay attention to what you're saying more if they have a screen to look at, as opposed to me just talking to them.
Yeah.
He was talking about it with eye contact, right, Dylan?
Yes. He said, if you walk in a room and strictly have eye contact with them, it's awkward for people my age. I personally don't necessarily fall into that. I just got out of a meeting and I love talking to somebody. But there's been times in my life, as weird as that is, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I've struggled with that. But there is, I 100% agree with that. And I'm not one of these people that just die hard, look at their phone, look at their computer all day long.
Yeah.
That's not really my personality. But I do think if you walked up and I was in a meeting with you, like he talked about, and pulled out and said, here, let me show you this, and put a screen between me, I will 100% look at the screen, and it does break down an awkward barrier, opposed to you just trying to tell me
Yeah.
something.
Because
That-
it really helped me, because he also reminded us that, like, your age group, Dylan, has always known screens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, screens are I had to get used to them, but you grew
Yes.
up with them. So yeah,
That's
it's
what I grew up
something
with. Yes.
that can bring us together, actually, instead of taking us apart.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Teresa, because just to set the stage, he was kind of talking about how if you have millennial clients, so just for poops and giggles, just say, under 30, that they might not like just the sit down meeting with face to face, just straight eye contact the whole entire time. Like if you put a screen in front of them and show them statistics, or show them your listing presentation, or
Yeah.
show them like it's going to break the ice, because of exactly what y'all just said. Like they're used to everything pretty much being on a screen.
Yeah,
Yes.
so takeaway is like buyer agreements, listing appointments,
Yeah.
like I definitely always have like a paper product to take with me, because I
Yeah.
am a buyer, but I'm gonna make sure I use a screen going forward as well, like just that.
It tears down the awkwardness. It really does. And it does it for me as well. And like I said, I'm not a person that's glued to my phone all day either. I think that's what we grew up with. That's what we were used to. I think that is something that a lot of people should have taken away from it. And when I can see it and you can move it and show it, I just think it connects better with me. And I don't even super connect with the people of my age in a lot of areas. I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's switch gears. I only had like one of these, so I'm anxious to hear from you guys, but there were so many agent interviews, top agent interviews, and so many great ideas. I know both of you guys were texting me saying like this open house stuff and this social media stuff and all this. So let's share some of the biggest takeaways that would be like tactical things that agents could put into place, or were great ideas that you guys heard.
Connecting for me with what we just talked about, being unique, and most people buying houses are millennials and below, like all tying it back together. Less events, better events. Don't just have an event.
Yeah.
Make it great. Like do as many as you want, but make sure you make it great. I would rather you do one great one than 4 mediocre or below average ones. Like that is a big thing that I learned. They were like, yeah, a lot of people want to do just open house because they think just open houses have always worked, which open houses do work. I'm getting ready to launch a competition in our office about open houses. Like they work.
Yeah.
But instead of just doing one every Thursday, Sunday, and it's the same houses that you're doing all the time, why don't you do one that is labeled as something else? And this is just an example. Don't take this to the bank and go try it and rent a food truck tonight. But like for instance, instead of just doing open house, they did one on a Saturday, about an hour after most of the ball games ended, at a place nearby the local park, and labeled as an ice cream social with a tour of a house. And
So smart.
ice cream was free. They had 100 families stop by. They partnered with the vendor, and after the vendor paid what it paid, they spent less than a couple $100, and they had 127 families come through. So, and that's just an idea to do that with, or it was 136. I just found it in my notes. But making events great, and not just doing something because you're supposed to be doing it, but make it unique, tying that back in with what we just talked about. Make your events unique and a destination for people to tell that story. But let's go down the line of what all this is tied back to. But that's what even my biggest aha. But that stuck out to me. We've got to do the work. We have to quit just doing things to do them. Like we have to do them in excellence, and we have to do them with purpose. And I think less event, if it has to be even a little bit less events, and we don't take that as an excuse to quit doing stuff, make it great. Whatever you do, make it great. Even if that means you have to take a couple things off the plate, I'd rather you do 10 things excellent than 15 things mediocre.
Yeah, love that. Kayleen added to that, Dylan, something really good too. Use open houses to meet with buyers moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing. The open house seminar was just great. And another thing they said with the events, pre-marketing and post-marketing. A lot of people just pre-market to get people there. I'll put you in a system, in a database. You're going to get an email. I'll touch you with some emails. I'm going to put you in command, drip plan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what about marketing? Oh my gosh,
Can I
that
say-
beautiful.
Can I say something really quick? So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
listening to another, I forget his name, but he was talking about open houses and how we can't see buyers without an agreement. And this is a great way to get in front of a lot more buyers are going to be going through open houses because they don't need an agreement. So we should be
Yep.
doing open houses a lot more to meet these people without having to go through that agreement.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna mention it a lot more in our office, but it was a great point because people are more concerned that they have to have an agreement to show a house. Well, if you do an open house, you can get in front of them and build that relationship without having to do that first.
Yeah, so good.
So,
Great idea. Yeah, and I think, remember, open houses were already up. Traffic through open houses was already up 52% this year over last year. And I highly anticipate that number to grow because of exactly what you just now said. Yeah, the traffic through open houses is gonna go back to being really high. Which I think is probably why they made that, Dylan, such a big focus this
Yeah.
time. So
second panel they did, and it was amazing. And then my other big aha from the panels on that Monday, and then I'll flip it over to Teresa, was definitely all things social media for me. We kind of use social media as a solo source, and that's not really what it's meant to be. They talked about it's supposed to be an enhancer. It's supposed to be a reminder. It's supposed to be all these things of what some social media is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the end all be all though, right? But what we have to do is, and this is the hard part for us to do, we got to stay consistent. But the big thing that I texted Dana is like, they said, well, what are you doing to build your reach?
yeah,
If you're hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on great content, but you're doing nothing to build your reach, what's it matter? If you're not meeting people with in person and then start liking and commenting and sharing, but you're just liking and commenting and sharing and they don't ever know you or spoke to you, you just seem weird, right? Like, I hate to be mean, but
yeah,
but if I've built a relationship, it becomes an enhancer. It becomes everything. And we use it as a tool to enhance the relationships we already have. But I have to build my reach. They said, if you don't mean this rude to anybody on here, so don't get discouraged. They're saying this as an encouragement. I told Dana, like, if I have 100 followers and I'm
Mhm.
posting the same thing everybody else is saying, I'm probably just wasting my time posting what I'm posting.
yeah.
So I have to quit looking at just what content can I do and spending all this money and time and on the content, but what can I do to build the reach, and finding the balance there was a huge thing for me.
Yeah. I love that, Dylan. I put in the chat. Unfortunately I was on a plane, and so I missed this session, and I missed Ken Pozek. And you guys know Ken is like my real estate crush. Sorry, honey. Adam just walked in the door as I literally was getting ready to say that.
Hey, well, whatever makes you happy, man.
He said whatever makes you happy, Andy. I love Ken Pozek, and it's because I know his story. I mean, 6 years ago, he moved to Orlando, and 7 years ago, maybe, and didn't know one person. And this month they helped 68 families in July, I think it was 6. I mean, he's just built an incredible business through reach, exactly what you just said, Dylan, through the reach. And so I saw somebody posted this, and I saved it in my phone under my favorites. He shared the myths around video marketing, because video, I mean, what a great way to expand your reach, but you've got to be figuring out all the different avenues of being able to do that. And Dylan, I loved your aha on the podcast, because truthfully, I know you guys listen, a lot of you guys, and thank you, listen to Linda and I's podcast, Everything Life and Real Estate. And the reason why we did that is to expand our reach. I mean, truthfully, to bring value to the people that we already serve and to expand our reach. And so I think that's a really, really great aha. Were you guys able to open the picture in the chat? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I just want to make sure.
I just want to throw in here, you guys, you can go to KW Connect, and search for Mega Camp one-pagers. And I already looked today, a lot of the one-pagers are already up. So you can take this talk about social media, Ken Pozek's talk, and they've made it into a one-pager. So
And if you are on, Teresa, I'm glad you said that. Thank you. And you are not with KW, just email me and I'll make sure we get you those because we're here to share.
yeah, and then I just wanted to add to that, that with the social media, my takeaway with social media was becoming a local expert. I've always known this. Tracy Chambers told me that in 2010, like, pick your area and become that local expert about it. And now with social media, like, you can just have so much fun with, I mean, you could be a local expert for Columbus, or you could be the local expert of a small community within Dublin. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter what you pick, but make that your thing. And then consistency, of course, is the key. Like, you just have to have a system of posting regularly and giving content, not just, and always mix in a little bit of personal with the
Mhm.
serious stuff. But you could be doing, like, Small Business Fridays and Market Minute on Mondays, or whatever you want to do, but be consistent and try to stay local.
Yeah. Did they talk at all about, and again, I missed this, so just curious, but anything about people that maybe don't like social media or aren't using that to grow?
Yeah, Jason
Oh.
Abrams hates social media. He calls
Yeah,
it,
he's not even on. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Abrams isn't even on social media.
I mean, but again, I mean, sorry to have to give Jason a taste of his own medicine, but you need to change. Like, social media is not going away. One of you guys, going back to the generational talk, you guys are Gen Z, right? Or unless you're in Canada, you're Gen Z. But they trust social media for news more than they trust CNN or
Oh, yeah.
NPR or Fox News or whoever your go-to is.
When
Yeah.
not, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Don't hate me here. I pay for a cable package for sports, and when the recent political thing happened, not being political, but when the Trump assassination attempt happened, I wanted to turn on and get the current event. I didn't know where to find it, and I own cable. I own
Yeah.
cable sports, and I didn't know where to find it. I called my dad and said, "What channel is the news on? I know you have the same cable package as me."
You need a little clicker too, Dylan. It's
I
a little
did
thing that comes.
from my phone, and I was like trying to search it in the search bar on our cable package. I called Dad, and I was like, "What channel is the news?" And I was,
Again,
True. It's very true. Which, by the way, is why Ken Pozek is having the success that he's having. He is the media in Orlando. I mean, when something happens, when there's, a new Universal is getting a new water park right now that's going to be like the water parks of all water parks and finished in 2025. And I think Ken has done more reporting on it than probably like the local news interviews Ken about stuff.
yeah.
So it's just incredible. I mean, really, it's incredible to watch, how that's happened. Go ahead, Teresa.
One of the panelists that they had up there, like an agent, is called I think he's called the Kansas City guy. He took Ken's system and applied it to Kansas City and has had the same results in a very short.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Great to know. Wow, that's amazing. Awesome. Any other ahas, any other things, actionable items that you can give to them that you guys had?
I had one more. Dylan, do you remember the 3 moms that they interviewed who, like, knocked it out of the ballpark? Like, one of them did 90 million a
Yeah.
year. I
Yeah.
mean, these were just 3 regular moms, but they got involved in their kids' schools and they did it very organically. They didn't push, but they just, again, it came back to being a local expert. Like, they knew real estate, and they might have been like the mom manager of the kids' baseball team, or one of them
Yeah,
was
during
like,
the farm session, right? Just about what you farm.
yeah, that's what it basically came down to. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, one of them was gave tours of the school to potential families that were coming in, and she was just so good that the school just started saying, like, hey, like, why don't you just be their realtor? So she did. So the point of the story is, I'm not saying everybody needs to go out there and like try to take over their school, but if that's
Yeah.
something that happens for you organically, like,
Yeah, or if you're in that season of life right now.
like, why wouldn't you do that? The mom manager who did over $90 million worth of business last year, she just said, like, you know, every time she sent out an email to the sports team, it always had like her real estate underneath. Well, they trusted her getting their kids from Atlanta to Tallahassee, Florida for baseball trips. They decided to just trust her with real estate. And why wouldn't
Wow.
you?
Yeah, that was a key thing for me as well. That just like the farming thing, like why we aren't farming enough. I'm in a smaller town. I talked with they, they're like, I got to farm. I have to farm. I have to farm. I have to farm. And so like, I think that's a big thing that like finding your niche, like in small towns like mine, you're going to have to probably do just a little more than just your niche. Cause there's probably not a ton of I had 3-4 agents there at the mega camp with us. I had 2 that I spent a ton of time with. I know they're listening today, and me and them talked about that. Like, yeah, you in our small town, you have to kind of sell everything because we are in a small town. But
Yeah.
what you can do is find your niche as well and make sure that people know what you're good at in that area. Here was my favorite thing said all weekend. So if you want to get your pens and paper out, you can. My favorite thing all weekend was lack of revenue is not your biggest problem. Lack of reputation is. And doesn't
Oh.
say it's not saying that if you don't have a lot of revenue that you're a bad person, you got a bad rap in town, but you don't have the reputation yet of being a top realtor. You don't have the reputation of, I know if if they list my house, it'll be gone in no time. They don't have the reputation of knowing you're the best person to sell farm land. You don't know if you're the best reputation of making sure that families are taken care of. How do I build my reputation? Because when I build my reputation, the revenue problem will be fixed. Lack of revenue is not your biggest problem. It's lack of reputation.
Wow,
Who-
that's good. Where did that come from?
Don't know
So-
the guy's name. I forgot, but it was during Tuesday during the afternoon with one of the keynote speakers. I'm sitting here looking at it now, and I must have forgotten to write down his name, but I have pictures of his Instagram and all that. I can put it in the comments. But
Wow.
that was my favorite thing said all week.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I'm so glad you said that. I didn't get that.
Another thing he said was results times reach equals reputation. So, and it's not just media reach, like I spoke earlier, reach in general. And you build that reach by being trustworthy. You build that reach by delivering. You build that reach on all the characteristics that we preach at Keller Williams, right? Our culture. We build all those things that help our reach. And then when we results, it equals a reputation. And that's when our revenue and money problems will be fixed.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys know, I put in the chat the link, are these one pagers in the new MREA2 playbook that came out, or are those different? Does anybody know?
I'm sure I have an MER playbook 2 sitting beside me. I can look, but
Yeah, because these are like let me just share this really fast. I put the link in the chat for you to log in for those of you that are with KW, but it'll give you all, like, there's Rory's, Phil Jones, and then there's the open houses, social media.
those are in the play.
In number 2, the number 2 playbook that just came out.
I don't know about all of them, so I don't want you to take me, but one of them I just printed off today, so I know. Yes, I don't know all are. I haven't looked.
That they are. Yeah,
But-
that's okay. These are all brand new. These are all of the ones that just came with Mega Camp. So that's super awesome. I was just asking because otherwise I was gonna print all these out, but if not, then I'll wait for my book. Which will be good. Thank you. I know I texted Dylan. I was like, will you grab me one so I can get it when I'm back in Kentucky, because I knew that they would sell out. Okay, not to put you guys on the spot, but a couple minutes left. Like, Bridget, anything you got that we didn't talk about that you would want to share? Or anything else, Kayleen? I know, Tina, your camera's not on, but anything you guys, if you did, and if not, no biggie.
I can go. I was like, I'm trying to pull up. It was mind blowing for me because I was there. I literally got back late last night because we stayed for the mastermind, started it with the CEO summit, which was amazing. But one thing I just pulled up about I think Brittany Hodak said it about creating super fans, and she was during that CEO summit. The purpose of a business is to create a customer who then creates customers. You want your people to give you customers, and what you want people to say about what do you want to be known for? How can you do more for them? And I think what she said is, how many of your contacts in your database actually have you in their database?
Yeah.
Right.
Great one.
That was, Bridget, I had that as my number one takeaway is.
From her.
I have so many million takeaways. I mean, like, I was like, my head's still spinning. And I'm so thankful that Linda said go to that CEO summit. I'm so thankful that Jeff told me to stay for the mastermind, because and one of my biggest takeaways for anyone that's never been to one of these events, the people that you meet, I know Teresa was concerned about all of us sitting in, and I'm not calling you out, Teresa, but all of us sitting in the same row.
Boomer. I am a boomer.
And I'm the same way, but somebody on one, I don't know what training it was probably one of ours, but the whole purpose, like, we sit with each other every day. We see each other every day. Go out and yeah. So I was sitting around 8 other rainmakers at the mastermind, and my mind was just blown. And my MAPS coach got me in touch with all these other people. So it truly is, I think we all get caught up in our bubble in our office, and we're fortunate enough to have one team we have more people, our reach is bigger, but to be able to meet those people and hear those stories and what are they going through. And there are a lot of common themes, but I took away so many things that I was like, wow. And I can't wait to share, Teresa. I know you reached out, so we can share some of the other stuff even within the Market Center.
Yeah, definitely. That's gonna be great. Thank you, Bridget. One of my takeaways, and again, this is not to like shame anybody or make anybody feel bad, but I leave every time and I'm like, I just wish our whole office was there. Like it's just, you get so much stuff. And even me in the OP mastermind, it's just good to be like filled up and see what's working for other people that maybe, could work for us too. I mean, it's just, it's the connecting that's so powerful. And one thing I noticed, and then Dylan, you go, like all the top agents were there. I mean, I know that most of them were on panels, but like they all are so busy and they all make it a priority to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
who sat next to me?
Who?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Bill Jones, me in the Mastery Lounge.
Wow. Yeah.
I texted my husband because we're reading that and they're all joking in the team chat. Did he know exactly what to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
It makes you want like to take all your agents and like but then we do this thing where we have to be better, right? All of us in leadership, to where we make it a point, like, and time goes on and we forget how important it is until we leave back. Here would be my suggestion to anyone going to one of these events, because you all need to go. And if you haven't gone, or if you are going still, and I had one of our agents do this, and I hope she gets benefit from it. You're going to take 10 million notes and you're going to try to do it, and you're going to try to do everything on those lists, and you're going to try, and then it's going to get exhausting, right? What I always do is, and this is, if this is not so Kellerized, Dana, you can kick me off the Zoom, but like, this is, I make a parking lot, which is a Keller thing, and I cap my parking lot. And then when I get to that capped number, if I find something I like better than the things in there, I take one out and I move it in. I keep it in my notes, and I analyze the notes. Yeah. I analyze all the notes. I took time this morning. I got here at 7 a.m. and I took time this morning to analyze all the notes. But that parking lot that I do is my 10 things that I want to implement the most.
Yep.
That I say I'm implementing these, or I'm going out of business. One of the two things. Like that's my two options. So even if you make yours bigger than mine, always have a parking lot of your favorite things that you're going to do no matter what when you leave there.
Yep. There's mine. I have my action items from both events that I was at. Like, I keep one page and I take all my notes in this notebook too, but then every time I'm like, okay, I have to do that, I go back and put it on the action page. And then and then at the end, I'm like, okay, I need to do that. And then if it's not relevant anymore, take it off.
I felt like Phil Jones did a really good job of pulling that all in, because The message I took away from Phil was to become a specialist. You
Mm.
guys, he walked out into the audience and asked agents, like, who's your ideal client?
Mm.
And people like didn't have an answer and people were avoiding contact.
Anybody that can fog a mirror.
Right. But what it came down to was, though, he wanted you to become a specialist of some type of real estate person. And because once you're a specialist with one thing, you can then get referrals from other people because you are a specialist. Like the way I looked at it was like this. If Dane, I told Adam this today, if Amelia falls on the tennis court today and breaks her arm, what are you going to do?
Call the arm specialist.
Well, you're going to take her to the hospital, and the hospital is
Right.
going to say, okay, she's 14 years old, so she could see an adult orthopedist or she could see a pediatric. Which one do you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Pediatric.
say pediatric. And then they
Right.
say, okay, well, actually, we have a pediatric that just does sports injuries. Do you want him? Oh, yeah, we'll take him. Okay, so now we actually have sports orthopedic surgeons that only do wrists, and we happen to have one. Would you like to see her?
Yep,
Yes, I would.
absolutely.
I would like to see her.
Mhm.
That's who I'm looking for. But in the meantime, now Miss Wrist Surgeon, she can also fix all sorts of other things too. She just
Mm.
happens to be a specialist in helping you with the thing you need. And I felt like Phil was telling us, like, make sure you know who you're working for or what your ideal client looks like.
I love that.
Even though you're a specialist and everybody wants a specialist, if you're buying a house, selling a house, breaking your wrist, having a baby, you are looking for the specialist in your field. But
Yep.
that specialist can do all sorts of other things because they have so much training.
Oh, so good. That was great, Teresa. Awesome. So good. Great thing to end on. Well, thank you guys so much. If you're in our offices, make sure you get to the September office meeting because more people are going to be sharing, I think, right, guys, their takeaways and ahas. Yeah, so we'll
Is it
have.
September or August? Oh, we're
I-
having our consultants.
sorry.
Our meeting is August 22nd.
Okay, that's good. Whenever. Listen to the bosses, not me. I am gonna tell you wrong probably every single time.
August 20th. So you,
Okay, there you go. August. See, my months are off. I'm trying to rush us to September.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
you come to ours in September, you will not hear ahas from MegaCamp.
No, but you will hear me. I will be there, I think, in September.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so make sure you get to the office meeting in August to hear ahas if you're with us. And if not, if there's anything that you need, we're happy to share and send to you also. And then make sure that you get registered for the industry update. I don't know the date that I'm doing that, but we'll send it out. I mean, we've already sent it out, but we'll send it out again. I'll be breaking down all of these slides and I'm going to be talking about the upcoming potential recession and what the outlook of that could look like. So invite a realtor friend and hop on that. Dylan and Teresa, thank you guys so much for being such great leaders. I'm very honored to work with y'all. Thanks for your notes. Thanks for going and having time away from your families to be in Austin. Thank you guys for being on and have a wonderful weekend. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.